Good afternoon. Got a bit of garage time today, Sunday. So the plan for today, car's jacked up as you can see. I've got a friend coming around very soon who we're going to do a bit of brake bleeding. Obviously I've fitted this sensor now, so I've introduced a bit more air to the system. So I'll get some new fluid in, get that flushed through nice. Probably give the clutch another bleed as well. While we're at it, and also just while I'm waiting, just doing a bit of arts and crafts stuff. So this is a gold heat reflective tape. I mean, I've used it loads over on the 211. Probably can't see any of it without. No, not really, but there's loads in there to try and keep the heat away from the charge cooler and various other bits. It does kind of work if you understand what its capabilities are, which is reflecting, radiated heat. It's not going to insulate anything in the traditional sense. So the plan is to insulate the pedal box, cover with it. Sorry, I've just used the word insulate. Is to cover the pedal box, cover with it. It's apparently on track in summer. Obviously, that manifold's very, very close. Your feet can get quite toasty. I've not experienced it myself yet, but I've not really driven the car in above freezing, so we'll see. We'll get it done now, and then it's on. It's another job ticked off. Good evening. So a quick update for the day. The brakes and the clutch have been bled again, so very, very big thank you to Jamie for coming and lending me his pedal services. I spoke highly some videos ago now about the Sealy brake bleeder kit stuff, and I stand by that. It's really good stuff, but that one's a little past its best. A couple of the seals, turns out, are not holding pressure that well, so it can get messy pretty quickly. So yeah, Jamie just spent the best part of an hour sat in the cockpit freezing his toes off, bless him. And we got a few things done. Got the brake and the clutch all bled up again, but also did a few tweaks down here. With the clutch stop is now wound out again a little bit, so it's in a more relevant position, hopefully. Just some other odds and sods. So it was good to get that stuff done while I had a spare set of hands. Yeah, so thanks again to Jamie for that one. As you can see, he's quite the athlete, but his particular type of athletics requires you to be a big boy. So he did well to get in and out of the Caterham as well as he did. So, onwards. What we've got going on here, you may have seen these hanging on the garage wall throughout the build so far, but these are some hub stands from a guy called Fast Eddie. He's got a website, I think, but I kind of found him on Facebook, fasteddies.biz, and he does a few things that are good for the home race mechanic, including these hub stands, which are on got roller bearings at the bottom. So I've used these a couple of times on the Lotus. They weren't ideal in my old garage, to be honest, because the old garage was slightly off level, and my old garage was dominated by these scaffolding board planks that I've got to give clearance onto the ramp, so it just wasn't an ideal setup, to be honest, so they didn't get much use. They're good in here because the floor's level. If the floor is anything but level, as soon as you lower the car onto these, it will fuck off sideways. I mean, I can move this car with the lightest of touches, which I'd rather not do. But the good thing is, there's a few good things about these. One is, when I was doing the string alignment previously, each time I'd make an adjustment, I'd have to roll the car backwards and forwards to because if you think about a tyre sat on the concrete, if you adjust the toe of that tyre, that rubber's got some squish, right? It's got some flex, it's got some elasticity about it. So if you crank on what you're measuring as being 2 mil of toe, the tyre may well have been absorbing some of that sideways torque. So when you roll the tyre backwards and forwards, in theory that equalises and you get back to your accurate measurement. It basically means it takes you ages of constant back and forth to get a good alignment. So what I thought I'd do, I knew the steering wheel angle needed a little bit of adjustment, or the front toe needed a bit of adjustment to bring the steering wheel back into a proper straight line. So I thought I'd do that, and to be honest, I don't know why I didn't use the hub stands last time. I think I just forgot that I own them. So I'm going to get them. I don't know if I'll do the full job tonight, but I think I'm going to get the string box set up tonight and see where we're at. And then I'll pile some ballast in. And the other thing that the hub stands are good for, of course, is because there's no wheel on the car. Everything's accessible. You know, you can get to the track rod end dead easy. They come with these kind of levels along the side, and you'll see they've got different wheel sizes on there. So that's the measuring point for a 13-inch wheel. You would measure the distance between this point here and the string, so you're comparing apples with apples. So yeah, I'll get the string box set up now. I think have a quick measurement with the ballast in. I'll see how motivated I'm feeling in 10 minutes time. Other stuff I've been doing as part of this. We're now in Trackday prep mode, by the way. So I've got Donington a week on Friday. So I finished my gold stuff, so not going to put that on yet. Got some other stuff coming up, so I'll leave that off for now. What else have I been doing? That's about it, I think. That's about it. So yeah, I'll get on with the strings and I'll update you shortly. Okay, string box is set up, and we've got ballast Kyle back in the car as well. Ballast Kyle, by the way, 2 kilograms lighter than he was last time. Heading in the right direction. So I've measured, same as before, I won't go over it again, but made sure the box is parallel to the centre line of the car. So I'm just going to kind of, best I can, judge the centre point on the steering wheel. What I can't quite do is I do have a steering wheel clamp. It's spring loaded from the floor. Just to put a bit of resistance on the steering wheel, because as soon as you start messing with the track rod end, that steering wheel will move. There's zero resistance on the steering right now. In fact, talking about the resistance, I mentioned about the roller bearings and how if the floor's anything but level, just the kind of sideways force of me chucking the ballast sacks into the driver's seat was pushing the car to that side of the garage. So yeah, you've got to be so delicate on these hub stands. You can't do anything. I was at the Autosport show last weekend before, whenever it was, and I was really oogling some of the higher end hub stands, where instead of them being on roller bearings just free on the floor, they're in like a cradle, and they're on some kind of bearing mechanism that lets them float in all directions. They'd be much safer than these. I mean, these are not inherently dangerous. I mean, worst thing that's going to happen is the car's going to slide sideways slowly into a wall. It's not dangerous as such. But yeah, the more high end ones, they're kind of captive. I suppose you could achieve the same thing maybe by welding a retaining wall around these steel plates that I've got on the floor, so it could never escape that retaining wall. I guess you could achieve a similar effect there, but anyway, it's by the by. Just be a little bit delicate with the car and you'll be fine. So I'm going to just take a couple of reference measurements now, see if I can do something to fix the steering wheel in position, maybe with some clamps or something, and I'll check back short. Hello, quick break from the Geo stuff because I had an Amazon delivery. I mentioned when I was sat in the driver's... Is that a bit clearer? Yeah, that's a bit clearer. I made a comment on the previous video with these new mirrors that visibility on this one was fantastic, but on the other one I talked about looking at some options for mounting it on the roll cage instead. You can get proper, clamps specifically for these mirrors and stuff for that, but they're quite expensive for what they are. So I cheaped out and looked on Amazon, and what you could get were, for not much money at all, these like 2-piece clamps with the right diameter. But the problem is they had a great big 10mm hole in them, and I need to attach an M6 into there. So I sort of toyed with ideas, and what I've ended up doing for now is a M8 riv nut was a really close interference fit. So I put some super glue on a riv nut and hammered it in, and then an M6 riv nut in there is a really close interference fit. So I'm then going to press an M6 riv nut into that one, which should give me, which sounds shady as, it is shady as fuck, let's face it. If the mirrors come flying off the first time I hit a curb, then that's a lesson in false economy for you. But if it does work, I've managed to create some clamps for about £8, which is pretty cool. So I can't use them yet because I've not looked at the half door install yet. But once I've got half doors on, in theory, that could mount there, and the mirror can screw straight into that. So that should give me some pretty nice options. If nothing else, I can use these to mock up the view that it gives me, and if I like it, I can commit to buying the fancy ones. But you know, little update. Good evening, back again. Just finished up with the suspension alignment. Yeah, so the wheel's a little straighter now, hopefully, and I'm towing out 3mm at the front now, so a bit more extreme than last time. See how I get on. I'll take all my kit to Donington. If I don't like it, I'll crank a little bit of tow off. So yeah, that's all done. I've nipped up the lock nuts, so I'll get off these hub stands now. I think the next pre-Trackday job will be to take a look at the fuel sample valve. Don't need it for the Trackday, obviously, but it's just another job to get done before it's race time. So yeah, I will check back once I've tidied all this equipment away. Surprise, this isn't the fuel sample valve. Anti-roll bar, forgot about him. So yeah, I think I talked about it in the other video. I've got a stiffer anti-roll bar to go on. So I get two choices, or I get one choice between two anti-roll bars in the academy. The car comes with the softer of the two options. So I'm just going to stick the stiffer of the two on, why not? The track days I'm doing in winter may be wet, which in theory lends itself to the softer bar, but whatever. I'm going to stick the stiff one on. I'd rather have the stiff one on and make the most of a dry day than to have the wet bar on, get to a track, realise it's actually dry, and then waste time putting an anti-roll bar on, if that makes sense. So I'll crack on with that now. I really didn't want to touch this before IVA because I had one of the earliest jobs on the build was putting these covers on, the ball joints for the IVA. I had really struggled to get those on, and I was certainly not confident that they would still be on all this time later. So good that they survived, but I don't really have to care about them now. Obviously, it's nice to have them, keep dust out of the joints and stuff. But I think people swap their anti-roll bars so often, it's not a big deal. So yeah, it's basically just two bolts on either side, and the whole thing comes off. So the stiffer anti-roll bar comes with a new set of brackets. They're in there somewhere. So it's just a case of unbolt the brackets, pop the bar out of its ball joints, which may be easier said than done because it was a right pig to get it in. But we'll see. We'll find out in the next couple of minutes. Bit sketchy doing this on the hub stand still, but I've got a jack on, so it'll be fine. The anti-roll bar update. The bolts came out easy enough. There's good ratchet spanner access with the nose cone off, and I have managed to pop off this ball joint, pop that out of there. They were really difficult to get in. I think I read after the fact, after I'd struggled with it for ages, I'd read that most people take a bit of material off of the ball just to make it a nice, easier fit, but I didn't do that. I kind of just persisted and got them in eventually. So it was a bit hard to pop out. I was trying to think of how I could force it out without damaging the anti-roll bar or the chassis. And I just was kind of looking around the floor, and I realised a pry bar in a glove finger, the middle finger, coincidentally, is a really nice fit up there against the chassis that way. And I do need two hands to do this, but then I could just pop it out. So I'll get this side off and get them side by side for a look. So there we go. All the new. See, it's a fair bit thicker, fair bit stiffer. So you get all the bits you need with it: your bushes, dust boots, brackets, the little ball joints at the end, even the cable ties. So I'll just get these ball joints wound on, and then get it fitted. Okay, so I built up the thicker anti-roll bar with all of the good wins now. I didn't actually notice at first, but I'd actually broken these ball joints when I used my middle finger glove trick to prise them out. It just broke these ball joints in half. I said they were a real pig to get in. That can't be right. I have seen people when I've been lurking around pit lane swapping these bars fairly easily. So I definitely had to take some material off. I think in hindsight, it's the powder coat on the inside of these cups. I think running a file around the inside of that would have probably solved the problem, because a few flakes of powder coat also came out when I did it. So it's a bit there, look. So I have just run some sandpaper around the inside edge of that and cleaned it all out nice. So yeah, we'll see if this one goes in any easier. Right, if you ever think you're working on a car and something's just a little bit too easy, good tip for you: cover everything in grease. Everything you might want to touch, get purchase on, grab a hold of, just cover it in grease. And then put the car on roller bearings so that every time you put any force on the car is zigzagging across the garage. That makes things a bit more challenging. Okay, so that's my dry weather anti-roll bar fitted. As it turns out, it's also my wet weather anti-roll bar, my snow weather anti-roll bar, my end of the world anti-roll bar. I won't be swapping that in a hurry. I do. 24 hours on after getting stressed out with the anti-roll bar. As you can see, the car's now back on its wheels, nose cone back on. So I'm going to get round to the job that I was going to do before I got distracted with the anti-roll bar, which is the Motorsport UK FIA mandated fuel sample valve. So these are the bits you get with the kit. So you get this little kind of dog leg thing connector. So that will go into the fuel rail, replacing the current fuel line. This T-piece will go into there, and then the original fuel hose will connect onto there. And then this is the dry brake male connector, which will screw in there with some PTFE tape. And what that means is these are a kind of a standardised fitting. You get a female version of this, obviously, onto a bit of rubber hose, and then you can just clip it on. And while the engine's running, it will be pumping the fuel out of the line into a bucket or whatever. This is good for a couple of reasons. One is it's mandatory in the regulations, but the other is it gives me a really convenient way to drain the fuel tank between sessions. I'm a fairly large racing driver, so every bit of weight will help to meet or get close to the minimum weight. So being able to drain the fuel between sessions and put only the specific amount left needed to finish the session will be quite handy. So this will come into good use. So yeah, I'm just going to fit this now. Should only take a couple of minutes. Famous last words, and I'll report back once we're done. Okay, as promised, it's a couple of minutes. So that's in there now, nicely supported. Little S-bend dog leg thing into there, and then down there. As I said on an early video, when I replaced the fuel line after I'd kinked it before, I said adding this valve would make that a much nicer relaxed curve on there, which has happened. So that makes me feel a little bit better about the whole kinking fuel line thing as well. I've just fired the car up, primed the pump a few times, checked for leaks. It's all good. So yeah, another one ticked off. Job done. Another quick update from inside the car. I recall when I put the mirrors on, I was really happy with the view from the driver's side, but the passenger side was obscured. Well, I've put my little DIY bracket on the roll bar, and that's tons better. So, and I can of course mount this one here as well. So the main thing blocking this for the next track day is whether I get the half doors on or not, because the full doors won't work with this setup. But once I go on the half doors, which I'll run all season, I think this will be a really nice solution. Actually, I think really happy with those. They're really on there solid. I just put a little ring of insulating tape around the roll cage so it wasn't biting into the powder coat, but that's as solid as you like. So providing my double riv nut setup doesn't fall out over a curb, that will be a pretty nice setup. Cool. Good evening. Right, if I did like post-episode credits, this would be like a post-credit bonus clip. The car was all ready really at the end of this video to go to a track day, and now I don't have any interior in again. Transmission tunnel's off again, boot floor's up again. Do you remember when I kinked that fuel hose? Well, I just wanted to make a minor adjustment to the sample valve just to tidy it up the slightest bit, and guess what I did? I kinked the fucking fuel hose again.